Welcome to the Watts Wellness Podcast. My name is Corey Watts.
And my name is Sanchia Watts.
Based in Perth, Western Australia, both of us have been on our own self-development journeys for many years now, which has led to this moment.
The intention behind the Watts Wellness Podcast is to help you meet yourself deeply as you navigate your own human experience.
Become present in this moment.
Take a deep belly breath.
And be open to receiving this week's episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Watts Wellness Podcast.
Yes, align yourself with the 8 elements of wellness. We're so excited to be here for episode 1. It's been such a long time in the work. Since 2021, really, was when you sent me a text message saying, let's start a podcast. And we really only started taking some aligned action in the last month. But we're here now. We've got the little setup and it's, so exciting to be here.
And we actually said this podcast is really going to help us to evolve and embody our best versions of ourselves as well. So everything that we're speaking into, we are trying our best to embody as well. And we are definitely on this journey with you guys. I have a background in sound healing. I studied psychology, sociology and philosophy throughout high school and university, and have been on a massive personal development journey over the last few years specifically. And both of us have done a lot of healing work. Yeah,
100%. Speaking from experience, a lot here, probably not as much from expertise. Like we will be a little bit, but I think a lot of the stuff that we're going into is stuff that's helped us along in our own journeys and stuff that we've learned along the way that has really helped us to grow as people. And we are still growing, as Sanchia mentioned, we're still on this journey, and it is an exciting podcast because we're going to be able to level up ourselves in a sense and learn along the way and hopefully speak to a few people about a few different things and, really gain some knowledge and understanding in our own lives, which will be good. So excited that you guys can join us on this journey and, keen to be here.
Yeah, me too.
Which is beautiful. So we want to start each episode off with a little bit of a strength and a weakness from the week. We think it's a really good chance to be vulnerable with you guys and share what's going on in our lives. And also we hope that you guys can do this all at home. Without this podcast, this podcast, we'll be doing a lot of little journal prompts and stuff that you guys can do at home. So if you'd like to join us in this one, feel free. But Sanch, I'll throw it to you first. Strength and a weakness of this week. What are you thinking?
Awesome. Okay. My strength has been feeling my emotions. I've been attending a few breathwork classes lately and been doing lots of meditation and just really giving myself permission to feel everything. And that is something that I've really only learnt to do in the last maybe 5 years, is to actually validate my own emotions and feel into them. And it feels so good to actually be listening to what has been stored in my body and releasing them in healthy, safe environments. So that's been a strength for sure.
Yeah.
It's actually stopped me from binge eating and overindulging because I'm no longer stuffing down my emotions with food. I'm actually expressing them. And now I don't need to reach for food. And we'll get into lots of different topics, all surrounded around wellness and spirituality. Binge eating is something that I think a lot of women struggle with. And I truly believe deep down it's about suppressing emotions and you're actually just like trying to consume so that you don't have to feel. It's a bit of a distraction. Well, at least for myself, that's what I witnessed. So yeah, I've definitely corrected that habit through feeling my emotions. And my weakness from the last week, or a challenge that I faced, was probably setting up my home. It's been a bit chaotic there. I've had to move into a different room and I pulled my bed apart, repacked it, moved it, shuffled some things around, just decluttering. And yeah, the house was a bit chaotic for a few weeks there, but it's fully cleansed and cleared now, and it feels really good and really aligned.
Yeah, lovely. I did want to sort of ask as well, like what was sort of the aligned action you took to overtake that challenge, I suppose, in the week? You obviously said that it's feeling quite aligned now. What's something that you did that has really sort of brought that back in and helped you overcome that challenge? Yeah,
so I am a Cancer and my home is vital in my well-being. And so when things are a little bit chaotic or things are a bit displaced, it's honestly just an invitation for me to surrender and let go of control a little bit more. So I've been practicing that and just trusting that everything is temporary. These boxes will be moved soon. Eventually we'll have a coffee table and it will all come together. It always does. And so it's just been about surrendering and taking those little actionable steps to create alignment in my environment.
Yeah, nice one. Awesome. Well, it's good that you can overcome that challenge, I suppose, and get to where you need to be.
How about you? What was your strength and weakness?
Nice. My strength and weakness from this week.
Or challenge. We like a challenge, not a weakness.
Yeah, we probably should be saying challenge.
Let's say challenge,
Yeah, I agree. I think the challenge for me at the moment has probably been just staying present a little bit. I think I'm very caught up in the past and the future a bit at the moment, which has been, a little bit interesting. I think I've got a lot of goals and a lot of aspirations and things that I'm trying to chase at the moment, but it's an interesting one. Something we'll probably talk about in a later episode and stuff, how to go about this, because I'm probably getting caught up in the moment of I want to achieve these things, but they're not here right now. And I'm taking the aligned action for them, and I need to just surrender to that I'm doing everything that I can to get to where I need to be, but it's not just going to happen in an instant. So I need to sort of stay in the moment a little bit more. And I think that's probably my challenge at the moment, which I need to overcome. My strength has probably been facing my emotions, similar to you, been doing a bit of breath work and stuff. And that's been really good. So I only did the one session so far, but it's something that I do struggle with, dropping into my emotions and actually feeling and sort of, I guess just surrendering and sitting with myself at times. So quite linked between the two at the moment. So I think the more I do that, the more it'll help me to sit in the present and just be able to establish myself a bit more in the moment. So I'd say for my overcoming for this week and how I'll sort of manage that is definitely going to get back into just a bit of mindfulness and just taking some moments throughout the day. Even, I can't stress this enough as well for anyone that is listening at the moment, that you don't always have to drop into yourself when you're feeling bad. It's good to drop into yourself when you're actually just having like a good moment and familiarize yourself with the feelings of feeling good. So I think that'll be my thing this week, is just taking some random points throughout my day. Might even be just setting an alarm or something just to take like 2 or 3 minutes to actually just sit and check in with myself, see how I'm feeling. Am I grounded? Am I in this moment? What sort of emotions are coming up? Are they good emotions? Are they bad emotions? And just letting everything sort of feel and be there. So yeah, I think that's me for this week, which will be exciting. So keen for that, which is good.
Nice.
Speaking of, we are going to jump in today's episode, and you would have heard me mention it at the top end of the podcast, but it is align yourself with the 8 elements of wellness. The way me and Sanchia wanted to run this podcast is when we're doing episodes together, we are going to sort of let each other take the lead on different episodes. So this week, Sanchia is going to be taking the majority of the lead with this. It's a topic that's served you pretty well, both of us obviously, but something that's exciting for you to talk about. So I guess the first sort of question is, what is wellness?
Yeah.
Which is a big one.
Yeah, wellness is really, really important, honestly. And through sound healing, I'm obviously dealing with a lot of people, and a lot of people come to sound healing because they are feeling a little bit scattered or unbalanced. And I've noticed how impactful just having a general understanding of wellness and well-being is, because then you can be proactive in aligning these areas. And so I think wellness is really about creating balance and harmony within, and it's about just ensuring that you really are fueling your body to support you throughout life and the challenges that we all face.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So Dr. Peggy Swarbrick has outlined 8 elements of wellness.
Yeah.
The 8 elements are environmental, financial, emotional, physical, occupational, social, spiritual, and intellectual.
Which pretty much does cover everything when you think about it. She obviously put a lot of research and thoughts into these 8 areas. And it is so true, like when you look at these alignments and stuff, where it sits. So did you want to go into a couple of them as well? And you can throw a couple to me as well if you'd like me to chime in. But those sort of 8 areas, like how do we sort of know when there is alignment? What do they sort of look like? What do they cover? I guess is a good place to start.
So I suppose we could maybe take 4 each, and I would probably feel most comfortable talking about the spiritual element.
Yep.
Obviously, sound healing is quite a spiritual occupation, and I definitely feel balanced spiritually when I'm meditating daily, and I have those spiritual practices that I can embody on a daily basis. And that could be as simple as like lighting some incense or burning some sage or Palo Santo, or journaling and just getting in touch with whatever is bigger than me, the universe, God, whatever you believe in. Getting in touch with that and my own intuition helps me feel so stable and so grounded. Like spiritual well-being is so important. A lot of people talk about physical hygiene, and I also think that there's spiritual hygiene as well. And so that is about cleansing your space, cleansing your aura, your energy, and just allowing yourself to simply be as you tap in and connect inwards.
100%. Yeah, I think it is worth mentioning that wellness is on a spectrum, and what one area is for somebody won't align for them in another area. So, for instance, I was talking a little bit about the 8 elements of wellness with someone, and I asked them about spirituality, and they said, I'm not a spiritual person, so I actually rate this area of my life quite highly. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. They just said, well, it's because I don't have that spirituality. Like, it's just not something that my beliefs sort of align with. So I don't feel like it's an issue in my life. And that is true with wellness. Like, it can really ebb and flow. But I guess what I've found really interesting on the spiritual side of things is when you can have a sense of faith in something, it actually can alleviate like a lot of stress.
Absolutely.
And I was watching the Netflix documentary that's on Living to 100, the Blue Zones. And one of the common themes is they have a sense of spirituality. A lot of the time it's God and Christianity, but it's because they put a lot of their faith and they put a lot of their worries onto that sort of God or that higher self. And it can be such an alleviator of stress. So such an interesting one that you touch on there. It's yeah,
absolutely.
Really cool. Yeah, definitely.
It's just about realizing that there's always something bigger than us out there. And so sometimes when things are feeling chaotic, you can zoom out and you can just take a bird's eye approach. And I am a firm believer in the universe, and I trust that everything happens for a reason. And I always trust that rejection is just redirection. And so just having those grounded spiritual beliefs, which have come over the years of self-development and reading books, and obviously getting into sound healing when I was 14 really opened me up to spirituality quite young. And I find that when I am meditating, when I am slowing down and becoming present, or indulging in those things that feel really good for me, yoga's huge. When I'm doing those things consistently, I feel really, really connected to my sense of self.
Definitely. So yeah, you've obviously given some great ways there that spirituality can sort of align and you can get it back into an alignment, I suppose. I guess I'll touch on physical because it's kind of in my sort of space. I play a lot of sport and a lot of football and a lot of working out, but it doesn't have to be just along those lines. But yeah, I guess your physical is obviously, it's all about, I guess, your physical environment, I suppose, within your body and how you're feeling. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go about this. I know for me personally, having exercise, doing a lot of sport, giving myself, I don't know, chances to be able to expel energy and do all that sort of stuff. My diet obviously comes into it as well. Just having a good physical environment is how I sort of evaluate the physical aspect of that wellness area, and doing those things for you. So taking the time out to recognize, you know, what do I need here? Like, am I a little bit overweight and do I need to like lose a little bit of weight to feel a bit healthier with myself? Do I need to eat some better foods because I'm lacking in this vitamin that's making me thrown out of balance? It's amazing the balance between nutrition and then our overall wellness. I at the moment been seeing a functional medicine doctor and been talking to them all about this sort of stuff. And there's strong links to having vitamin B deficiencies and having anxiety and depression and all sorts of mental health issues as well. So I think the physical aspect is such an important one to be able to rebalance and realign with. And yeah, taking the time to sort of, view that within yourself. And as I mentioned before, like I will stop saying it after this, but wellness is so on a spectrum. So what you need for one area, what I need for one area is going to be very different to what Sanchia needs, to what the next person needs. It just changes so much.
I need at least 3 yoga classes a week.
100%.
and you need intense football training.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sleep is another one that comes into physical health
Sleep
as well.
Sleep is huge. I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
Yeah.
8 hours of sleep a night, you'll be a changed person.
Yeah, 100%. It makes a massive difference. But, you know, there's also like some research at the moment saying that we all need very different amounts of sleep. Some people need 11 hours. Some people need 4 hours. Like there actually is like no magic number, but
4 hours sleep.
Some people can,
really?
Yeah, it's so,
I'd look into that.
Depends on who it is.
Study slightly, maybe.
Promise,
yeah, definitely. And also like women in their cycles, we need different sleep at different stages of the month. And it's important just to know for yourself how many hours you need a night to function on a daily basis. Keep a sleep log. That's a really great idea. And setting yourself up with those healthy habits of like having your exercise gear out if you know that working out in the morning is going to serve you well. We all need at least 30 minutes of exercise a day.
100%. Social, did you want to cover that off?
Social, that's an important one. It's about having those relationships that make you into a better person. You really are a reflection of the 5 closest people to you. I believe that. And so just making sure that your social connections and relationships are embodied with your values and that these people really bring you up rather than drag you down. And you'll know this if you go into a social setting with someone or with a group of people, or you meet someone for coffee and you leave feeling like, oh, that was really fun, and you actually are energized from the interaction. It's a good chance to notice that that person's probably for you, or those people are for you. If you leave feeling drained, exhausted and tired and fatigued, probably a sign that they're not serving your highest good.
Yeah, 100%. It's you're dead right in terms of people taking away from you and stuff. Like, you want people that are adding stuff to your life, those social circles. It's so important. As human beings, we really need strong like tribes around us. We're primitive beings in a sense, and tribe is such an important part of us as well. I'll reference it again in Living to 100. They talk about it a lot, that those social circles, having really strong connections, is so important for our overall well-being and feeling a part of something and feeling looked after, and yeah, it can make such a big difference. So
we really are social beings. We thrive when we are surrounded by supportive people.
Definitely. And supportive environments as well. So I guess I'll cover off on that one too. That environment is another big one. They're all big ones. Obviously, these 8 elements weren't just thrown into it with anything. They do all serve to create an overall sense of wellness in our lives. But yeah, environment is massive, and it's something I'll probably cover off later on, especially in the goal setting sort of scene and achievement, I suppose. But your environment is what's going to set you up. Like, how you're living and how you're behaving in your environment is all going to attribute to your identity, and then, yeah, how you sort of go about things and how you feel, I suppose. So, for instance, like you spoke about before, Sanchia, like when you're in that environment of, you know, obviously your household and stuff, and it feels messy and it feels chaotic, your mind is going to feel messy and chaotic. Like, that's just a given. When you want to, I don't know, go out and do something, if you want to be someone and like and achieve an identity, you need to embody that identity, and that means embodying that environment. So
Yeah.
if I want to go out and become a sound healer, I need to have the environment of a sound healer, and what that looks like. Maybe that's incense and
Sage
lots
of Palo Santo,
Palo Santo
crystals
in the house. Yeah, exactly. But it is really true. Your environment is going to, I guess,
Absolutely.
set up those feelings and how it looks.
Yeah, your environment is huge, and it's important just to have an environment that's supportive to those habits that you want to create for yourself. Yeah, environment's massive. It really, really is. If your home life is feeling unstable, it's connected to the root chakra, and it actually just completely affects how you show up in the world. If that's not feeling grounded, it's very hard for us to feel grounded.
Most definitely, yeah. Did you want to cover off on emotional?
Emotional, yes. Happy to do so. So emotional well-being to me is really allowing myself to feel my emotions, to express my emotions in safe containers to people that I trust, and also just being really real and truthful with myself. When we give ourselves permission to feel our emotions, we actually create a lot of self-trust within, because we're validating our experience and validating what we feel. And it's important to recognize that every single emotion you have is valid and worthy of being felt. Emotions are simply just energy in motion. So when you can give yourself permission to really feel into them and allow them to be expressed and not suppressed, you create self-love, because self-trust and self-love go hand in hand. So the more that you can validate your experience, validate what you're feeling, the more self-love you're going to have, because finally you're listening to yourself and what you're truly feeling in the heart space.
So cool.
Emotional well-being is huge. Like I said, through feeling comes healing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's such a big one within that as well. So finance, I guess I will cover off on as well. So financial, look, it's really in the name, I suppose. It's how you're feeling financially with things. It could be balance, budgeting, how you view money as well. I mean, this one again is so subjective to the individual. Some people really chase like money, and it's like a really big priority in their life, and creating a lot of abundance and creating a lot of wealth, whereas for other people, like finance plays probably a little role, and it's more around the experiences in their life, and I don't know, I guess a little bit more around not the materialistic things, I suppose. But it does ebb and flow, so you probably have to work out for yourself like what that looks like and what sort of financial goals that you want to hit. But yeah, an abundance is obviously a big one, and a pretty simple one, I guess, finance is, I suppose. Did you have anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, we'll get into abundant mentality versus a lack mentality in another episode. But just living within your means, not overstretching yourself, ensuring that you maybe have some savings behind you so that you feel confident and connected to your financial status, but also not basing your worth off how much you earn is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can fall into that. And that's a whole can of worms that I think we'll unpack in its own designated episode.
Yeah.
But just knowing that from a universal perspective, you will always have enough. You already have enough and you are enough. And your finances are important because obviously the more abundance you can have, the more that you can actually help others. And this is like a huge mindset that I've been changing recently. It's like I used to almost resent being abundant because I thought I'd be unrelatable, or I had this limiting belief that, you know, rich people were mean or nasty. And I've really unpacked that lately and realized that one of the most spiritual things that you can do is have abundance behind you, because then you can serve and you can help and you can show up for people and yourself.
Yeah, take the stress off yourself and give yourself some options. 100%. It makes such a big difference.
But just be grateful for what you have and then set those goals for what you'd like.
For sure. I mean, it leads in well as well to occupational, and I guess I'll cover off on that one quickly too. But yeah, pretty much creating alignment with, you know, what career space you want to work in. Why, like, you know, I'm not speaking in a place, sometimes there's jobs and things that we have to do, and at that point in time, we have to do a job that we don't like or whatever it is. But there's no reason why you can't start moving towards what you actually want to do in life. And it's something you've done, obviously, with sound healing, and it's been a big role for you. You stepped away from a teaching degree that was obviously, you know, you put in some hard years at uni to do that, and now you've just gone up and took a chance and you've created something really cool with Sound Healing Perth. But yeah, I guess you sort of embodied that occupational sense. I guess I'm sort of no different with that as well, and tried out a lot of different jobs and different things along the way, and definitely have had some good fortune that's helped me to make some choices. But I think aligning yourself with occupation is such a big one. If you're working 40 hours a week in a job you don't like, it's so detrimental to your overall wellness. So get into something that you do like, and obviously you've got to weigh that up as well. Maybe it's the money that you like, and that's fine. Like if that's serving you and it's feeling good and it's not a job that you love, but it's creating yourself a good income, then that's your sort of call. But if it's a job that you really, really love, then yeah, there's nothing better, I suppose, than that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can definitely level up as well through intellect, I suppose.
Yes, we'll get into intellect in a second, but I wanted to touch on occupational. I think just what you said before, knowing your why is so important with everything in life. Just know your why, be connected to that, and that will keep you in a steady pace towards your goals and your visions.
Yeah, it's something I really will cover off. It may be our next podcast episode, to be honest, around goal setting and different things, because it's something I've been doing at the moment, and I'll share some sort of stuff at the end of these sort of 8 elements in a way that you can sort of figure out where you're aligned and where you're not in line. But goal setting a part of that, and yeah, creating that why, as you said, is so important, because what's the point of doing anything if you don't have a strong why? Yeah. If your why doesn't outweigh the pain to change, you're never going to change. So
say that again.
If your why doesn't outweigh the pain of change, then you're not going to change. So I guess breaking that down a little bit is, if my why isn't strong enough, then having to get up at 7 a.m. to go and do a workout because I want to lose weight. Like if my reason why is not strong, why would I get up and do it? Like what's the point? I'm going to make excuses. I'm going to have reasons to not wake up. I'll miss my alarm. But if my why is I really want to fit into that wedding dress for my wedding and this is really important to me, I guarantee you're probably going to wake up. Like if that's a strong why for you, you'll make the time. You'll get up and it'll outweigh the pain of having to get up and do that workout. Obviously, it's just an example, but it's a good way of framing it. I hope that makes sense for people out there, that if your why outweighs the pain, you'll make the change. Yeah,
you have to know your why, and I think that really helped me find my dream occupation. I knew what my whys were. I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew that my job had to be connected to something spiritual, and I love teaching and I also love music. And so I sort of combined all those areas that I knew I was strong in and had a lot of passion for each of those areas and created this dream job. So as soon as you can locate your why, I feel like the rest of your life kind of begins to sync up and unfold as you manifest that dream.
Most definitely.
But this does lead into intellectual, because this is about sort of thinking about the mind and thinking about what you value and thinking critically as well. It's good to sort of, absorb information and listen to it, but you're really absorbing this podcast if you're applying it to your life and critically thinking about what we're talking about here.
Applying it to your life, but also like working out where it doesn't align with your life, I suppose, too. And that is critical thinking. It's taking everything on and applying it to you, because as we've said throughout all of these 8 elements, like from one person to the next, it's so different. You have to be able to identify what works for you and what doesn't, not doing things just because someone's told you this is a good thing to do.
Always think critically.
Yeah, exactly.
That is intellectual wellness. It's about, using your mind to your advantage and not letting your mind use you. A lot of people think that they are their thinking mind. They think they are the thoughts, and it's important to know that your thoughts are not always facts, and use your brain and your mind to your advantage. Question those thoughts. Question why you have those belief systems. Unpack them and use it to benefit your overall sense of well-being.
And learn and seek answers as well. I think, it's one of the big things, like it's that old rule of thumb of like, don't be the first one to talk at the table. Like listen to everyone, like let stuff come in and allow yourself to be able to, make decisions and things based off all the facts as well. So learn about stuff that you don't know about. If there's something that you're unsure about, if there's something that you don't know about, like go out and seek the answers. Don't just be a novice to it and, sort of be naive, I suppose. You can chase answers, and with the resources and stuff these days that we have with online, and it's all at your fingertips. So
absolutely. But also be comfortable not knowing things too. I'm sorry, I'm contradicting
no, it's good.
you there.
I like the conversation,
Like, yes, we can constantly learn, we can constantly evolve. As human beings, we are always learning and absorbing new information and ways of being, but also know that you're not always going to have the answers. No one has all the answers, and we have to get comfortable in knowing that as well. That's kind of something that I think once we can fully accept that we're not going to know everything, but we know enough to feel good within, then you're going to be in a position, in a place that feels content and peaceful.
Definitely. I think there's a bit of both in that.
Absolutely. Find the balance.
I definitely agree that you have to like surrender that you won't know everything. Like obviously, like you can't know everything, but if there is something like you want to learn more about, then by all means be inquisitive and go and find out. Don't just sit in a space of naivety and stuff. If I had sat in my emotions with anxiety and just never chased any answers, I'd still be sitting there with the pain and the inner turmoil that I once had. So
and this leads into exactly what I wanted to highlight specifically in this episode. We can all know about these 8 elements of wellness. We can be aware of them. Most of you probably already knew some of this stuff. So the question really is, why do we not always align ourselves with these elements, and why do we not work towards it? And I truly believe that it comes down to a lot of us are working at developing our self-worth. And so in order to actually have a lifestyle that feels balanced and to strive towards balancing those 8 elements, you need to know that you are worth having an aligned life. Like you are worthy of having a strong sense of self and a better state of your well-being. Mental health is so important, and a lot of us can get really stuck in a victim identity because it kind of gives us meaning and purpose. It's easy to be a victim. So when you can switch that into having that self-worth and that self-love, and honestly, I think it begins with feeling your emotions, because that will create self-trust, which then creates self-love. If you can embody that, then you really will want to be at your best, because you'll know your worth.
Definitely resonates, I think, for me at the moment with just stuff going on. And I don't know if I spoke about it as my weakness, I think, or my challenge. But yeah, self-worth's been something that's been coming up a lot. And I've been doing a lot of goal setting and a lot of planning and a lot of different things like that. But it just hasn't really been firing me at the moment. Like it hasn't been sort of coming through like very strong. I haven't been that motivated to go out and do it. And I think it's because I can identify the areas at the moment that aren't aligned, and I'll share with people how to do that in a moment. But you are right that your self-worth is important, because if you don't have self-worth, then you don't, it's almost that reason why again, like there's no, you almost don't want to help yourself because you don't respect yourself. I'll add in that self-love is quite hard to achieve. It probably comes down first and foremost to have self-acceptance, then it's self-fondness and self-love. Self-love is quite a massive step to be able to really love yourself. And I'm talking like you don't see many faults within yourself. You're very accepting of everything within yourself. If you can just get like a self-acceptance sort of step, it's a massive direction to making change in the right way and just being able to go, you know what, like I've made mistakes in the past. I've got a few issues. It's this and that, but I'm accepting myself and I'm working through that. That's such a big step in that direction. So
yeah,
it's worth sharing for sure.
And I think, again, that can link back to your emotional well-being. And the more that you can just accept those emotions that are there and need to come up, the more self-trust and worth you'll create.
Definitely.
We're all worthy of feeling.
Yeah, exactly, which is good. But those 8 areas, why is it important to align, I suppose, and how do you know when you're in alignment?
I think you know that you're in alignment with these 8 areas when you feel sort of this undercurrent of just grounded connectedness to your sense of self. And you know they're aligned when you feel expansive and you can get into those flow states really easily and manifestations are occurring and becoming a reality. I think that's when you know that you've balanced these 8 areas, because you just feel this undercurrent energy of confidence, quietly confident that you've balanced these areas, and if they're not fully balanced, you're working towards balancing them a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think that's almost a little bit of a feminine sort of way of feeling out those, definitely, like within feeling your emotions stuff. Like,
so from the masculine, how would you know that you're in alignment with those 8 elements?
Yeah, so I obviously take a very analytical approach to this. So
cool.
It's a good little exercise for anyone. And it doesn't have to be just masculine here as well. If you're someone that's struggling to sort of get in tune with yourself, I know for me, when I was feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of emotion within my body, it was quite confusing to be able to actually feel what was going on and like check in with myself, especially if you're someone like me that does find it a bit uncomfortable at times to sit with yourself and kind of like feel out some stuff. It's a good little tool to be able to use. So write down those 8 areas on a piece of paper, and it's something that you can throw in your journal. So environmental, finance, emotional, physical, occupational, social, spiritual, and intellectual. And then simply just put like a little 1 to 10 on a piece of paper. So you have like a little graph almost. And I want you guys to sort of rate where each of those areas are sitting at the moment on that scale. So probably what's important to do before this is write down what those areas would look like if they're a 10. So they're the best that they can be. There's no more improvements within it. So for you, for finance or something, that might look like you're the richest person in the world, or you've got all this abundance. Like, I don't know how that
Sticking to a budget. Or...
Yeah, like I don't know how that would look for you for a 10, but we're talking it's the best it could be. So you can't improve this anymore.
But make it realistic as well.
The idea of putting it at a 10 and you can't improve it anymore is that that's it. Like, this is the best it could be. So that's so realistically, you'll never have anything as a 10 is my point. And that's why we put it as a 10. It's to see that it is the best it could be. Like, you cannot improve this anymore.
Okay.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, I want you to put it as a 1 and maybe think of those times when one of these areas was really tough and it wasn't really working. So emotional for me, maybe when I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression and stuff going on and I was in a pretty dark space, that's probably where my 1 is at. So get that scale, and then I want you to rate everything in your life on that scale and in those 8 areas of wellness. And then you'll come up with sort of 8 numbers on this graph and draw a line in between each of the numbers and see how it's sitting. If your life is in real alignment, you're going to have a pretty straight line across the top. If it's out of balance, then there's some areas to work on.
Might be a bit wavy.
Yeah,
on
a bit
that graph.
wavy. I'm going to guarantee it would probably be pretty wavy.
And that's okay.
And that's sort of what we're looking at here. And that's kind of the whole point, is to be able to take a look at these 8 areas of wellness and realize where it is that we've got to, bump something up to help get us back into balance and help it be to where it needs to be. So
I like that idea. And I think going one step further as well, if something really is sitting below a 5, maybe jot point some little ideas that can actually create action in that area to help it come into alignment.
Yeah, 100%. So if your physical is below a 5 or something like that, it might be, getting back into a bit of gym or a bit of routine with your diet, or getting some more sleep to feel a bit better physically. Like, as we've mentioned many times throughout this episode, it's very associated with who you are and, you're going to know what's best for you. But yeah, check in with yourself. But
Yeah, make those actionable steps achievable though. Like make them small at the beginning because you'll create self-trust if you can stick to them and actually implement them.
100%, and it will make just such a big difference. And it's something I'll talk about later on with goal setting too. Once we sort of find these areas within our life, I will teach how to be able to set goals like based on these 8 areas of wellness. So set a goal for physical or whatever that looks like, and then establishing reasons why that we want to make these changes. And it's a step in the right direction, I suppose. And I'm glad that this is where we've started for our first episode because it's just so important.
It is. Just having that foundational awareness of these 8 elements will change your life. So hopefully in this podcast, you guys all could recognize and maybe identify some areas that maybe feel a little bit out of balance. So just think of one actionable thing that you could take and implement that for the week ahead.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And it's such an important thing. So,
sorry to cut you off.
You go, yeah.
If you're lost though, like just get 8 hours of sleep a night. That is like the number one thing that I advise to people. If you can just get that 8 hours of sleep a night, do that for 4 nights in a row and see how you feel at the end of that. That's just like a tiny little actionable step that may help you to create more alignment.
Yeah, 100%, which is good. But yeah, work out what works for you and
yes.
Yeah, check in with those 8 areas. And it's not just something check in once and then leave it at that. I mean, with my little graph at the moment that I've got at home, I've got one for each week at the moment, and I want to redo it at the end of each week to really see where things are making changes, to see areas that aren't making changes. And you may not do this on a graph. You may just check in with yourself and see how it's feeling, as Sanchia mentioned. But yeah, a good little start to the day. Hey, I'm pretty sure that's just about going to wrap up this little topic. So thanks for sharing that with us. It was really enlightening.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Really good lead on the topic, which is good. Before we ended, we want to end each episode with a little journal prompt. Did you want to share that today with everyone and let them know what we wanted them to sort of go into and
I think the scale idea is enough of a journal prompt for people today. So just, noticing those 8 elements of wellness for you and jotting down on a scale of, 1 to 10, where do you feel they sit? 10 being they are the most aligned they could perfectly be. And just identifying that, and maybe you do that for a month and see what changes and what happens.
100%, yeah. And look at those areas and write down some little ways that you can align yourself and take some action in those areas, as you mentioned, which would be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, a great little start to today's episode, which is great. So we hope everyone's really enjoyed it. It's been such a pleasure being able to be here and be able to offer this to people. Yeah, exactly. And
use our voice.
Yeah, share some thoughts, which is always good.
It's a big thing that we've overcome is sharing our voice, speaking our truth. So let us know how it resonated with you. We've got an Instagram account called the What's Wellness Podcast. You can DM us or leave a comment.
Yep. Feel free to email as well at contact@thewhatswellnesspodcast.com. You can send in anything that you thought was interesting from today's episode, or also any little things that you might want to add on, and we'd love to hear, because as we said, we're learning as well, and we're still wanting to gain knowledge where we can. So if anyone out there has got some great little tips on how you align yourself in the 8 areas of wellness, feel free to share them.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it.
Most definitely, which would be great.
Alrighty.
Sanj, it's been a pleasure.
You too.
We'll be checking back in next week. We're going to have to think about what we want to do now, which would be good. So
we'll get it.
But yeah, we'll get it as we go. We're going to be covering some great topics. So yeah.
Stay tuned, everybody. Thank you for being here. Continue to take those deep belly breaths, and we hope and trust that you will find alignment in those areas in divine timing.
That's it. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.